So, first things first, guys. How are you?
Good.
We're hanging in there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's to be in Amsterdam though. Beautiful city. Every time we're here.
Absolutely love this place. Every time I've ever been here has been a good time.
Our friend went crazy and threw his wallet into the canal yesterday.
Our friend? No, our keyboardist.
The keyboardist.
Yeah.
So he has no money.
He lost his weed in the canal too.
Yeah, he lost everything. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
We were asleep. Apparently he stayed up till 3 doing God knows what.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to see the city?
We're staying. I don't know anything about what it's called. Like the neighborhood that we're always by the Paradiso.
Well, yeah, we were talking to dude, and I was just like, why is, like, every time I come here, I'm in the same, like, 3-block radius, and he was just like, every single venue is over here, so.
Yeah, that's right.
And I love that place. It's great. But the rest of the city probably has more to offer, maybe?
So another time, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. Well, what I want to start with before we talk about the record is you ended up sharing a house together. How did that come together?
That was completely based off of, like, circumstance, I guess.
So when Julien moved to Chicago to be in Smith Westerns, he lived on the living room floor. And at the time, I was living with Cullen, and Cullen moved out from Smith Westerns. He moved out to live with his girlfriend, and Julien actually just like took his bed.
Yeah,
He didn't even take his bag.
Up until like a month ago maybe, I was still using that bed. It's a disgusting bed. Like, I'm also pretty bad at washing sheets, AKA I just don't do it that often. So yeah, glad to be done with that bed.
Yeah. So he was living in the living room, and then once there was an empty room, he just moved in, and we didn't talk about it.
And
yeah.
Were you already, was this when you were still in the Smith Westerns?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when kind of that band fell apart, or you went your separate ways?
Yeah, it was just, it's like having any significant other, boyfriend or girlfriend, someone
was like
important in your life.
It was a very mutual breakup.
Yeah, it was just, we'd been together, we worked together for 7 years, and it was just time for both of us to, I think, to be productive, we needed to not be working together, so it was a good thing.
And between that breakup and then you guys starting to write songs together, how much time was there?
There was almost like a year.
6 months.
Probably like 6 to 8 months. Okay. And we were both working on separate stuff. Max was working on like some solo stuff, and I was writing an album with the old keyboardist from Smith Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
And then at a certain point, I don't know what happened, like we just realized that what we were working on was like, we were purging like these weird ideas that weren't necessarily gonna form into like a piece, like an album or anything. And out of nowhere, like me and Max woke up a few mornings and started writing the Whitney record. We wrote like the first 2 songs, and then it was like, oh shit, like screw whatever we were working on. So we focused, honed in, put our heads down, and like wrote this album.
Okay. You say before that you were kind of purging songs out of.
Yeah.
So was that necessary, that period, to kind of
Absolutely.
get it out of your system?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I can't necessarily speak for Max. For me, it was like I was starting to like take writing, or I was taking like writing vocals more seriously for the first time, and it was like definitely good for like my, I guess, like growing as a writer and an artist. And
yeah, I think the most interesting part to me is that during that process, we both kind of would still bounce things off each other, even though we weren't working together on the same project. We were roommates, so if I was working on something, I'd be like, what do you think about this part? And when he would bring songs from what he was doing. And so that kind of like started the relationship of like collaborating in some form, even though it wasn't building the same project. Sure. We were helping each other out. And so when we actually got to the point of making music together, we already had like a kind of like dialogue where we knew how to talk to each other in like a positive but like like, you know.
It was like baby steps, kind of.
Yeah.
And then, and completely organically, we just like actually just started working on the same project, and yeah, we never would have. We don't say this enough, but like, never would have really imagined like doing an interview in Amsterdam.
Sure.
When we started, I mean, it was just like we were making shit that we wanted to listen to over and over and over again. Yeah. And now
you're here.
Yeah. Now we're playing it a lot. Yeah. A lot.
And you mentioned those two songs that you started out with. Did one of them, or maybe both, end up on the record?
Both of them, yeah.
Okay. So which songs were they? Are they?
Dave's song and On My Own were the first two.
Yeah.
And then Golden Days was pretty much right. I think Golden Days was being drafted. There were like parts of it recorded while those songs were finished, so it was kind of right there with them. Yeah,
Dave's song and On My Own were like, they were each written in probably like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super like just spitballing. We were just throwing our like ideas. It was like very instinctual, and then Golden Days was the one that we like sat down and like we worked for like 3 straight days on that one, and it was like, oh man, it changed the scope of the whole record. It was like, well, okay, now we can make something that we're like obsessed with now.
Is that the point then where things got more serious, in the sense you say you just what started that song off then?
Max just play. I remember like a specific moment where Max. We have like a mutual love for the band, like Lee Von Helm, Robbie Robertson, and we had an idea. We were like, all right, this next one we're gonna try to give it like a band feel, like the band feel, not rip them off at all. But like, I remember this specific moment where like Max was playing a chord progression and he was like, oh man, the second chord's gonna be crazy in this chord progression, and you remember that?
Not as well as you. Not
really.
Yeah,
and he like played the chord progression, and I was like, oh damn, all right, and I had to like stay up all night to figure out what the melody was going to be over it. But yeah, that was like when you're making something that's like almost out of yourself, like you don't even think that it's like too good for you to have even made it. That was the first moment that I've ever even felt that. I was like, oh shit, like, I'm gonna have to think long and hard about this melody, like. But it turned out great.
Did working, because you mentioned that you were both doing different projects before actually writing together. So once you did that change the way you wrote?
I think the way making music like changes every song, like the way a song is written. Like, I think that's kind of like something that's cool about the way we were. I mean, like what I was saying earlier, like, kind of working on separate projects, it's really hard to find someone to work with where you can tell them what you don't like. Like that's, I mean, telling someone what you like about what they're doing is really easy, because it's, I mean, but like being like, this is good, but this is what I would change in that person. What I mean? Having that dialogue is really hard to find. So yeah, I guess like our writing process, we don't really have one. Like there were songs where Julien, I played the guitars on the record, but there were parts that Julien followed, like the main chord progression for the verse. That was something he brought, and like sometimes I bring.
Sometimes he would like help. We'd collab on like the melody or the vocals and stuff. Yeah.
Collab. He just said collab.
Goddamn. Sometimes I mean, it really is like goddamn. I did just say collab. But it is like 100% collaboration in a lot of ways, because like it's so easy to get like overindulgent in what you do, and it's like sometimes that can distract from like the main vision of the project, and we both are like very in tune with the original vision of Whitney, and it's just like it's a very constant conversation when we're writing. It's like, well, no, this isn't what Whitney is. Obvious, right? And then be like, shit, you're right. And then we'd like figure out the compromise, and it's always just for the sake of the song. Yeah,
you could put like hours of work into a part, and the other person just be like, no.
Yeah.
But like we're told, I mean, it's just like, okay.
It's like,